to eliminate black market. Part of what you see there in the black market is also about the fact that there's perceived understanding that the official exchange rate is not the true rate.
I see.
Okay. And when we did the analysis, we realized that at some point, the variation between the official exchange rate and the black market rate was more than 25%.
Interesting. More than 25%?
Yeah, more than 25%. And that would not crowd in FX within the official corridor, right? It rather gives oxygen to this thing. And then also, it's not so difficult to understand why the black market is very active. Any country that is corrupt, any country that is corrupt, where people make money, not through their sweat, I hope you understand that, schemes and all of that, it gives the black market gives an interface, okay, through which the formal financial system interact with the underground economy and the rest of them. So we have to look at our corruption. We have to look at so many institutional reforms as a way of dealing with this. Other than that, we cannot use regulation totally. I agree with the central bank.
I think that the 10.5 or the 10.5 and that around that rate was ambitious. There was a honeymoon effect. There was it's almost there was a bounce that if you it's like a soccer team that has changed its coach. There's an initial bounce, and then so that was, and what is happening now, I would classify simply as a correction today. The first thing is that, listen, the volatility is bad. When the currency appreciates sharply, people lose money. People lose and huge sums of money. When the currency depreciates sharply, again, people will lose money. So let's be clear that the most important thing for all businesses is that if there's any change, it is relatively small. One of the things that, to be honest with you, what I heard from the president was that the target is to limit changes to 5%. If they could, you'd be surprised. People will be jumping, the traders, the importers, the industry will be jumping up and down with joy, if it could happen.
Between 6 and then 10%. Between 6 and 10%. That is why we say our inflation target is 8% plus or minus 2, or like we say technically 8% with a symmetrical rate of 2%. So inflation rate between 6% and 10% is considered to be stable. Over time, if the fundamentals transform, we can revise that target to maybe 6% plus or minus 2 and all of that. So those are the things that we want to look at. I want to believe that we missed something somewhere along the line in terms of how our own understanding of the appreciation and the implication for the economy. So you realize that now we are counting our losses. Okay, what was the level of analysis and sensitivity analysis that we did from the beginning of the year or towards the end of the first quarter, which probably could have guided us? And remember, at the time that, in fact, we indicated that there was intervention in the market from the central bank. At some point, it seems to be that there was some kind of denial that there was no intervention. It was just market forces. The IMF came to town and shined the lights on that, and it indicated that we had intervened in excess of $1.4 billion.
Yes, that was in the first quarter.
Remember that I looked at, within that same period, I compared what Ghana was doing to Kenya and to Nigeria, and realized that some of these countries chose to stabilize much early in the year rather than allowing their currency to appreciate excessively, because that in itself will cause some kind of dislocations in the economy. But it's good that we are coming back to reality. Look, what we are seeing here, for me, is not surprising.
This period of depreciation of the cedi?
Yes, it's not surprising.
The almost 20% depreciation?
It's not surprising. When you see aggressive pace of appreciation, which you cannot trace to economic transformation, i.e. structural transformation, productivity transformation. Of course, that is not to take away what government has done in terms of the leadership they've shown in 2025, expenditure cut, fiscal discipline, prudent monetary policy, and the rest of them. But beyond that, if you are talking about the fundamentals of the economy, it goes beyond that. You want to look at the real sector, you want to look at economic transformation, you want to see whether there are structural transformation, productivity transformation, you want to look at it across all those indicators. Then again, you also want to look at it in relation to external development, because Ghana is not an island, right?
Yes.
And all of that. So I think that it's not surprising. Typically, over time, if you look at the data, you realize that anytime there's a sharp appreciation, like we've seen, it's usually accompanied by some reversals correcting, okay?
Especially in the last quarter. This cyclical experience of the city over time is what we are seeing.
Yes. Okay, so, but because, again, given external development, and then also the steep expenditure cut, and then the goodwill, or what we call the honeymoon effect, of a new administration, given the results of 2024 and all of that, it was that the conditions were right for that level of appreciation. But I believe that the central bank also took advantage. Okay, so given subdued demand within that period, with minimal intervention or injection of FX, usually the value would change, right, and all of that. But if you had unlimited reserves, then you could say that there's no problem. We can sustain this. But you don't have unlimited reserves.
True.
And then again, look, a currency that historically is very strong, I'm talking about the USD, when within a certain period is priced this low, okay, to the extent that you don't have control over how people will react, you want to be very careful. And you've seen how remittances responded to this development. That is not the only thing. If you talk to businesses on the ground, especially in the manufacturing, beverage, and the rest of them, some of them have entertained revenue losses of more than 40%, simply because of this aggressive strengthening of the currency. Yes. And we have seen smuggling imports from our neighbors, even from Nigeria. Is that okay? Also because the standard VAT rate in Nigeria is around 7.5%. Our standard VAT rate, or effective VAT rate in Ghana, is just around 22%. It's actually 21.9%. So just that alone creates some kind of advantage for imported items from there. Coupled with the aggressive strengthening of the currency, it just made import, and the president was right when he said that there was a surge in import. So we had indicated earlier that what is our economic orientation? What kind of economy do we want to have? Then in that case, you are looking at the positioning of the exchange rate to support that. But given what was happening, we were less comfortable, and we had indicated that we were a bit concerned. We agreed that government was doing something right from the fiscal side. We agreed from the monetary side, they were doing something right, but the pace of the aggressive appreciation was unsettling. It was difficult for people to plan. Look at where we've ended up with. Within, again, just like almost 3 months or 2 months or so, we are seeing a reversal in value of almost 18-20%.
Just about a month. Yeah, just about a month we've seen from...
So just look at the disruptions in the first quarter, and then also towards the end here, just look at the disruptions. It's difficult to plan. So when the president said that, yes, stability is what people prefer, that we agree with that. Remember that human beings, businesses, we all prefer relative certainty. It's good for planning, okay? And the predictability is what helps in planning. Otherwise, assuming you had done your budget, and a lot of businesses, if you notice the way they work, towards the year end, they will do their strategic retreat. Mr. Jackson is here. They will do their strategy, approve their budget. Okay, this is the goals we have set. What is underlying budget to help us deliver on that? So they would have approved that. So if in the first quarter alone you see these disruptions, it throws the budget off the target. Then again, July, August, you see another disruption. No, it doesn't help planning. It doesn't help planning. And I believe that we are at the point where I agree when the president says that the city will find a true value. The true value in economics, we say, is the value that is arrived at as a result of the interaction between demand and then supply.
Without any intervention.
No. There is no with some level of intervention.
By the central bank.
By the central bank. Look.
But now that intervention has been withdrawn. But I want
it's about the scale.
Yes.
It's about the scale of the intervention. So it got to a point you could visibly see the footprint of the central bank in the market, in driving the rate. When it happens that way, it dwarfs one important function of the market, which is price discovery, which comes about as a result of the interaction of demand and then what supply. Sometimes we say forces of demand and supply. These are not witches and wizards, okay? So when you lift the veil, you get to see the number of people who want to buy as against the number of people who want to sell.
Ghana for me church, I'm watching Mamma Ham and Mamma Joe. May my video be, and I may say MPP ba near toilet. On be higher 1 year sees your manua na NDC4 or maybe Guno. Already Dubiano so woman a benya home for so. Oila President Kofon Hunia, woman and there, or Mundi home. Kumasi International Airport no Nadu is Sieno. And the woman or more, and young was or more airport city. Ya, because the woman a biddy home. Will be Abe Mammy at the same reply say, Mema evidence na MPP a useless. Nanado so one year anything serious for the country. You see, medical can say sebi Oma Ghana woman. You were a nipa ahuro mienu and a woman. You were Yansan 4 and they were seven Quasia 4. And you were a Yansan 4 no. Woman in Sananado. A bay and Yama me bri a boa Ghana mine. And now, sebi, one more yam one more and when you say Nipano. Woman has seen a nado anya free. Na sebi. This I wish Ghana and Munyam cry. And now to form. Ebian say Mahama Krum, one tribe, you say, one more a granny aquatina or the same. A Ivory Coast. Matis says Bikraba a chimma Nana a utum for or chimamuno. Why give best a duasa? Nasani Pano can say, me fa evidence, Milano. Send me candy and yakra, and I'm so ya a buentino, one tiasi. Sebi, say, we quote tally quine. Now, the Bricky Eco Faswa, Sabrichiano, Unhunu and Faswa, Sakutal no Yemano. And I break ye wouldn't no hospital Kuginawa. Sa hospital na yes, no yes, Mukama no ya Yarasano. One canipa huntin, one hunu and Faswa hospital no. Ewa Emma Ayarsa. And I break ye. Senipa ebodom pim say free SHS nana nado edin korano ko school. Now or more you need free. Or more montade or crocro wonum. Now or no more disua a course through Emma the whole world. Sagana for ko akansi bia no my first. Sa break ye no hunu or more. And I'm so ya boa one canipa hunintino. Unim say eno ye evidence. Akwan papa na nado sa tamwa se mahama no mo so no wo se wo mai Ghana kwa nyina na nado baya obeyi kwan papa no emrechie no ehunu se eyi kwan emre bi na mahama ne nkrofo ekoye wo de sen campaign wo se kintampo ekwan ya na nado no mo egusu a omu yiye no wo mo sadam ne nka school tare Woman ties ko papa, a woman say, Nanado, and Abe papa, or ties no. And I'm so among when you say any panintino. Bibia sia, no more the question what is saying will be away innocent. Nagana for me, Bomoko, more here. Say, Mahama watch it in Crofano, a Kwame Croma style. And maybe a bano, Ubahunu say, one best to say, assassination attempt to say enkrofo be pene kuno na henfo na baba kwa chi wo mo na kese okọ opponent nfo no ho a wo ye MPP fo no mo fansa ho disa ne Trump ye no Trump no say enka assassination ye pene kuno na hwe na nka tuo no a akwa no to ye no say ne kwasem pa say etuo no eti na so a enka Trump nka ne na so tuya ho womodi asa wata ho nansa pepe 3 days pepe na o ma we firi ho sabe pepe na mahama beyo enti sa akwa no a wo ka che mo esuro wo mo dini ma se me ma evidence no ono the say MPP for mo useless bra na MPP wo so no wote se ye ko chichiri nkofo bi o ma yaka de atem didi aka bintere bedi di himfo nen otumfo no matem bia no wote se ye ko hwe na se obekrom ha no wote se obi ko pense ko peneku no obekrom ase mo ma no say presidential guide no because MPP is useless usa kwa no nka nipa ho the whole world yes Ghana yani ye IQ no ye very low no Ghana ka ho na de ntie ka ho no say any say munim nyansa nka mo nkoto aba emma mahama obese oma no ya wono agina ho agitum mu se wase oma no na do fix na do ko fix wie ya mo san agisafo no e de akoma no amenne mo hwe amamu awobu galam say ese oma no wontimi hunu eho asem nka wo boku ya wodi koye politician na ejadem ho no ohunu ho asem nka wo na mom na at the time abronye akwa criticize no na say okodi di IGP amane atem yohunu enunti na sem ye criminal and this for no bose na de the same abronye ye no ye criminal oh esam so mo nwini se nipa nti no on say abronye case wo se ye criminal wo mo gwini opposite esen ke wudom no mtena ne ya mo nkwan ma nne o ma abefa the same o ma na aboso no sa asoko no asoko ase hwan no a wo se nko bekum wo the same afenyo markins no ya che no akwa be su kan se akwatia so mo ba obabubo mu nyina tuo maako no ya che no na enwanwa tamu anana nado ewo so no ane democracy eye adwuma no ma hunu se anase ya nte se sa yokofo no abusa ndisfo no a omu edi nsamane no bibia wo ana prosifo no so na nado penso demonstration mebreba ndisfo ye ni nyina ya hunu se prosifo no timi harazi wo no obidi enkwasi asem ye enkwasi asem pa na se bia na afọ kofa wo no ma ya hunu se na nado epenso no wo mkata wo mo anim se die ntima wo mkata mo anim ni se wakofa ahoho ena aba o mani mo akese wo mo eye talks ma NDC enintu no ye bio mo anim a ye behunu sa ni pakura mo yo na senka eba se US ana Canada obia wo kwan se okototuo de bon ho kwan ne ho ban a enkata ma wo mo huruhuru nkrofo ban ekosi nkrofo fie at the time of say obia da nanka wo tu a nanka wo de apeti wo nyina na mo amo bosse se abronye eye criminal no munyo nipa na abronye mika cho se shede na nyame di wachi ni ombe bia no nya na bebu abemu nukura ni gina ho a ka nukura no ho a ka sayo no nyame be ma na ye mwatu bia na nakatu anso ebe ka no sa the same IGP for mienu ni na no nya de obi aba obi aba so sa dampare mo mana ba so wono ka ho wona feli yan enene yohunu no so asaba momo yensa muri democracy ye adwuma ene wo ma democracy no ato nsuo mu a dictatorship no mo de ye adwuma no nanso so nyame mre na ye mre pa Omro Moncoso, constitution, 4 years, says a day, may. Adapt to you. And to do me be an eye, Ghana Cardinal, no more Christas, Yam Penedy, and yes, woman, yes, I am ready. This is in Yamoye, and maybe Bebano, and Mamunsu, and Mamon criticize it, so be Dimo Bonnet, because Nana don't need MPP and Nimo Bonnet, and do I will say MPP useless, no. I told you, remember, Mono, I told you, say, and this dear, a Yamawara.